Hexicans are the best.
So if you guys could stop saying stupid crap, that'd be fabulous.
Konnichiwa! Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Chatting with the Captain. I figured everybody needed a little bit of Richard, since we haven't had any Richard in us lately. So that's a little bit of Richard for you. Welcome everyone to Chatting with the Captain. I am your captain, the Captain RG3. How's everybody doing? Good to see you in their chat room. We are going to have an interview with somebody who has been in the crypto space for quite a long time. And not just in the crypto space, out there shit posting and memeing and being a community member and just hanging out around the fort kind of person. I'm talking about somebody who's actually got involved and made relationships and networks and has built bridges with all of the other content creators, streamers, you name it, founders, hang around crypto, big shots, you name it. She's either interviewed them or has written about them or has worked for them. She's worked in a lot of different crypto businesses. And on top of all that, she's my really, really good friend and OG Hexican. And so I'm going to bring up, hold on one more second. I still got a little bit more to talk about. The reason that I'm bringing our guest Nerd Girl up to the stream here to have a chat is just because you know, when she first came to the community, I kind of, her and I met on Twitter, and I just saw something unique in her, that she was kind of a chameleon, somebody who fit in and didn't fit in, and but wasn't afraid to speak her mind and questioned and challenged things. Every time I saw her do an interview or talk to somebody or tweet, she wasn't aggressive or overly zealous about her views and opinions, but she did question everybody else's and then give hers. And I really appreciated and liked that in her. And I thought she'd be a great addition to the community. And so slowly but surely, she kind of worked her way into the community as I kind of coaxed her along myself too, because I knew it would be nice having her around. We became really good friends in the meantime. And so without any further ado, I'm going to bring up my good friend and one of the best people in crypto, Nicole.
Hi.
Nerd Girl.
What an intro. Thanks, Captain.
Oh, well, you knew that was coming, right? I mean, come on.
I don't know. I never know what to expect, but thank you. I mean,
you
know, all of the like warm sentiments that you've expressed about me are entirely reciprocated, and that like you are probably my closest friend, like in crypto and even outside of crypto a lot of the time, especially after Burning Man.
Yeah, we'll get to talk about that, and we won't get to talk about some of it, but we will explain a little bit about how everything. I mean, you know, Burning Man is Burning Man. It's like it's sacred. It's sacred ground. Like a lot of people wanted me to record this and record that, and it's not. That's not what Burning Man is for. Burning Man is for you to go and experience it and internalize it, and have to explain it in a story. And so that others will be intrigued and want to go create their own stories versus let me see it on video and see how cool it is. No. You've got to experience video and pictures, and none of that does it no good. You have to go experience it.
Plus, so any of the events that happen there, like kind of happen in a vacuum. So when they're taken in context of anything else, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, but like in the context of Burning Man, it's like it made perfect sense. You know?
Exactly, but anywhere else it would have been like, what?
Yeah.
So let's go all the way back to your intro into crypto. You know, what even brought someone like you into this space?
Okay.
Why did you get in crypto?
Yeah. So I had a boyfriend who was really obsessed with cryptocurrency and specifically was really obsessed with Ethereum. And he talked about it so much that I had to learn something about it just as a product of having conversations with him.
Mhm.
So, and then as like the more that I learned about it from him, the more that I actually started seeing the parallels to work that I was doing with my dissertation when I was in graduate school for religious studies. So I was like, then I started asking him these questions that had to do with, philosophy of cryptocurrency, history of tribes and cryptocurrency, and like essentially posing the different tribes as different religions. And he really didn't understand that at all, because that was like just beyond what he had thought of cryptocurrency as. So I realized that I really wanted to apply the theory from my doctoral research to cryptocurrency, and that if I was going to do that, I needed to get in contact with some of the people who did understand what I was talking about, because I knew that they had to be out there. So I applied for a job as a journalist, as a cryptocurrency journalist, and I, had a humanities degree, so I'm a good writer. So I got that job, and it was while I was working for that media outlet that I realized that the crypto media is as corrupt as the
Oh,
traditional mainstream media.
really?
Sorry,
I
go
said,
ahead.
really? Do tell.
Yeah. So like everything, and I went into this in really great depth maybe about a month ago with what's his name? Wes. Okay, with Wes, like went into the depths of like it was like a 2-hour long discussion, so I don't want to repeat all of that, but went into the depths of exactly what media really is and how it is all pay to play.
Mhm.
Nearly
I
100%.
I I tend to agree with you,
Yeah.
and I really like what we have here,
Yeah.
because it's organic and nobody pays us. We're under nobody's boot, and we get to say what we want, what we feel. I think it's gonna now. It's a two-edged sword because there's danger in being able to say anything you want and have the platform to do so. I mean, just by pushing this button and us speaking, the whole world has access to what you and I say this evening,
Mhm.
which is a good thing. However, if I'm off my noggin and cracked and putting out some weird shit, then the whole world gets to see that too. And
Yep.
unfortunately, in this world, a lot of people like to believe and follow in the cracked people's bullshit. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. However, I do like what it's done here in this community with you, with your help being part of this community, because you are part of the Hex community. Besides what other people may or may not think about you,
I don't
you've
even think
you've
that that's debated anymore. It was for a while, but I don't even think that it's debatable anymore.
I don't think it is either. I mean, you were instrumental in getting us a lot of big interviews. You did a lot of big interviews yourself. You were really a bridge, the pun intended, you were really the bridge builder in this community. You've got us into a lot of spaces. You and Richard both were. Richard with his name and the hate that people felt for him. He was getting a lot of streams, and you with your networking and your in routes and where you were getting him a lot of streams, and also all of us too were getting a lot of streams because of you. So yeah, you were an instrumental bridge builder in the beginning,
Mhm.
and you did get a lot of hate on
Yeah.
top of the hate for being a Hexican. And this is kind of cool because this will kind of segue into a conversation you and I should have about kind of like a little project that we have going on. I don't know if you want to talk about it too much in depth, but you, the reason that I really liked you and what you were doing was because in a way, and I live in another world, but you were somebody who had to live in both worlds. You had to live as a Hexican and as a Cryptopian
Yep.
because the crypto folks were trusting and using and befriending you and networking with you, and so were the Hexicans. But when both saw your work, um, the Hexicans would fire off on you, and so would the Cryptopians for even being affiliated or associated with the Hexicans. So
Yep.
Explain that world a little bit.
So it's really it was a really difficult time, you know, like I've worked in cryptocurrency since before Hex was even a thing, right? So like I have all of these professional relationships with people, friendships with people, you know, whatever, varying degrees of, I don't know, acquaintanceship. And a lot of those people who had really committed to Hex as a scam, you know, for whatever reason, for one reason or another, because they didn't like Richard or because you lock it up or because who knows why, right? Like for all the reasons. And like those people who were like, hey, now we are following you and now we have to see you posting all this Hex stuff. And like, what do we like? And I was like, you don't have to interact with it. Like, but I mean, like, I don't get mad when you like whatever you like, you know? And you don't get mad when I like whatever I like. And it happens to be the case that I like something that you don't like. Like, is that really the end of the world? And then they'd be like, oh yeah, okay, you're right. That was really dumb. Like, yes, I know. And then with the Hexicans, who, you know, at the time there was no Pulse, there was no Hedron, there was nothing else. It was just Hex. So with the Hexicans, who are like diehard Hex maximalists, and like if I would tweet about anything else, they would get so mad. And I was like, hey, but I never branded myself as a maximalist. In fact, like I never would have even talked to you guys if I were a maximalist. This is my whole brand. This is my whole identity. Like, you thought that I was going to change? No.
And it was your job and the way you fed yourself and your child and put a roof over your heads, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like, sorry guys, no maximalism here. This is what's paying the bills too.
Yep, exactly. So I mean, it was kind of like battling a war on two fronts. You know, and it still is that way sometimes. Like there's so many people who I used to be friends with who won't talk to me anymore because of my affiliation with Hex. And like, I don't think that there really is inside of Hex anymore, like a contingent of people who really still think that I'm just like, you know, whatever crypto scammer. I think that is pretty much dead at this point. And thank God, you know, because that was not fun at all.
No, that wasn't fun. I mean, there's smidgens of it here and there still. We see this, like the unknown tweeter will go out there and say, "Are you kidding me? This is." In fact, we were at the Blockchain Center in Atlanta, which is an amazing place. Can't wait to talk to you about that someday. They just at the grassroots level put a building together, and they're incubating projects that are actually building on Pulse Chain. And they were opened up as just the Blockchain Center. And as they were doing their research and looking around, they became Hexicans, and they watched Pulse launch and they became Pulsicans, and you know, the whole thing. So they were really looking at the blockchain and cryptos and seeing what was best. And this is where they landed was, hey, we found Hex and we found Pulse Chain, and we're going to help incubate products that are being built on Pulse Chain. So it was really, really cool meeting with these folks. And however, long story longer, one of the people saw the Blockchain Center post our Pulse Chain tour. And one of their people that goes to the Blockchain Center said, I can't believe that you're promoting these scammers. And this, I am no longer going to be going to the Blockchain Center and blah, 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 blah. And the Blockchain Center came back and said, well, then fine, don't let the door hit you in the ass. We don't need people like you around here. And
well, I mean,
I thought that was
is that, like, if it's really a cool blockchain center, it really should be like entirely agnostic, you know, like,
yes. And that's what they are. And that's what they are. Yeah. And that's what they are. They have, however, embraced Pulse Chain and Hex but they also do other things. A lot of NFTers go there. The NFT thing is really big at the Blockchain Center. I mean, the whole building is street arted with Bored Apes and all kinds of stuff. They had the World Coin orb inside there. I took a picture with the world with the orb.
Did you let it scan your retinas?
No, I didn't. I made sure not to look at it. Every time I walked by, I was like this. Good. But I did take a picture with it next to me. I didn't let it suck my soul. So but yeah, it was there, and then they had a group of guys that were actually developing nodes and validator nodes, and they were building their own units and hooking them to blockchains and hooking them to Pulse, and it was really cool to see everything that they had going on there. But yeah, they were it was interesting to see a whole nother community that kind of popped up out of this, just because now we have an L1 and people are getting interested in what's going on. So cool. And more bridges being built.
Yeah.
Which
awesome.
I thought you'd be happy to hear.
Well, now the bridges are building themselves.
Yes. So what do you think about that? So what do you think now that it's not just a crypto that's like, going up against Bitcoin to see who's the best crypto? Well, I mean, I've always thought that, we're going to end up in a multi-chain world. What's your thoughts on what's going on and this multi-chain world that may be coming? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that multiple chains are the only real answer for scalability, right? Because like one chain we've been at this for 12 years now, right? And one chain just cannot handle the world's transaction volume. It can't. So multiple chains, it's the only way.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think there's a chain war coming, but I think that more than a war, there's going to be interoperability, and we're going to see people using multiple chains, and people being, hey, I don't want to shop at Walmart. I'm going to shop at Target, and they're going to be using this chain versus that chain, and we'll need bridges from all of them, and once that is finally completely secured, then I think we'll have interoperability and a multi-chain world.
Hang on, sorry. My daughter just came in here and she's like sneaking. Did you want to come say hi to the people? Come say hi then.
Tell her the Chad's on stream.
Chad's on stream. Hi, Chad.
What's up, girl? How you doing?
Good. What do you want to come on and say? Just hi?
I wanted to stay for a minute.
For a minute? Okay, well, we're talking about crypto stuff. So did you have crypto stuff that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm a crypto master.
You're a crypto master? That means you don't want to talk about it?
I don't want to talk about it, but I want to just sit here.
Okay.
You want to sit there?
All right.
Okay. You can sit there. You're definitely making the stream look a lot better. You're beautiful. You are absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
So back to the blockchains. We're both in agreement that we're going to see now. Do you so kind of okay? So let's mix the two together. Tribalism, which we know exists in crypto for whatever reason, and maybe we can talk about that, why this tribalism actually exists in crypto where it probably shouldn't. I mean, the whole rest of the asset loving world doesn't really have tribalism. I mean, you can have your favorite stock or your favorite way to invest or your favorite bond or company you invest in or whatever, but you don't see people like going to war for it or going after each other for their choice in Apple versus Google. But in this space, it just exists, and I think as the multi-chain world comes, we're going to have chain wars. What do you think about that and tribalism and why it's here? Because I know you've done a lot of writing and a lot of studying on it.
Yeah. So really, like to boil it down to the simplest way that I can say this, and there are definitely going to be people who are going to take offense to what I say, but whatever. All
right, don't worry, it's going to happen anyway.
Okay, you can ask your question.
Should I go get my mom some water?
She looks thirsty. Yes.
Yes, please go get me some water. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
I won't be gone for long.
Okay. So sorry about that, guys.
That's not network news here, baby.
Okay, tribalism, to boil it down to the most simple way that I can put it, it's like people have really over the last 100 200 however many years, sort of like the faith systems that we've had for ourselves have changed, right? And at one point in time it was like a belief in a God that like kept, like that made people want to fight wars, because their eternal salvation was on the line. If their religion wasn't the right religion, they were going to go to hell. But over time, like, even though belief in God overall hasn't really decreased, the like steadfastness to that belief has sort of waned, right? People have sort of come to the idea that like maybe there are multiple ways of being a good person. I don't know what happens next. And really just the whole organized religion has like gone down, or the abidance by organized religion has decreased. So with that, like, the next thing that people really had a lot of faith in was government and politics, right? So like, and over the last, I don't know, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, people have lost faith in their governments, right? Like, people don't want to as much go fight for their country because, I mean, you did, obviously, but like it's very common for people to not want to serve their country because they don't believe in what their country is doing. So there's that, and the disbelief in that, like that kind of shattering. And the next thing that people are clinging on to is money. And in a real way, money represents our salvation in the here and now, right? Because it is our ability to not work, or to only work when we want to and on what we want to work on. It is our freedom. It is our legacy. It is our children's, future. It's everything. And that's why people get the way that they do with cryptocurrency, because it's not just, people are not just putting in small amounts. They're putting in, everything that they can, and not what they can afford to lose.
Very, very well said. I think that tribalism is driven on or aimed at people from people in power, or they have a position of power, or they have influence, and they want people to go their way, and they want to try and drive people their way, and they work on, and everything you explained is usually working on the weaker minded folks. So it's people with more power, more position, more prestige, more money, more influence, working on groups of others to get them to take their position to go up against another side, or another side that may be threatening their position. And over and over and over again, that's what you see kind of tribalism turning into. Now, there have been times in history where one side or the other, or both sides, have said, this is ridiculous. Like, I think I even explained it to you when native people stopped doing a lot of killing with each other and started doing what's called counting coup. And it was more of a game than a killing spree. And so there's been times where tribalism has kind of like morphed into hey, let's not kill each other. Let's just kind of politically fight over it, or let's just try and have a game over it, or let's flip a coin kind of thing, but then it always seems to like bend back eventually into like full tribalism, one way or another. But with this currency game, I think you're right. I think that money now is kind of one of the big dividers. And in crypto, of course, I can only attest tribalism to people protecting their bags.
Yeah.
And people protecting their value and their worth.
Right. And it's because that value and worth represents their economic freedom. They're, in this life. Yeah.
Now here's something that I looked at, and the reason I felt the way I did, and the reason I kept doing what I was doing and going up against the status quo in crypto, say, I would have never picked up a sword to go and fight this kind of weird crypto battle. But when I read the Satoshi white paper and studied about the cypherpunk movement and what was going on, I really was convinced that cryptocurrency could change the monetary systems of the world and make it a better place for human beings to exist and live in. By giving us freedom of our money, giving us basically freedom of speech, freedom of movement, all of those things with like you said earlier, how much value the money has to us and what it represents to us and what it means to all of us, having access to that in a way that is not being tarnished or manipulated by governments and very wealthy and in countries and whatnot. Crypto is that thing, and I always believed that it was. So when I saw it just kind of get obliterated, and then I seen Richard, and I was one of the first people in this community to really understand what Hex was really all about. To really be one of the people standing up there saying, hey, no, this isn't just a cool bag pump thing. This isn't just a get rich thing. This is a change the world thing. This is really a big fucking deal. And I was from the beginning, that's how I felt. And that's what I wasn't convinced anymore. I was convicted. I was literally convicted that this was something that I could pick up a sword for. And watching all of the other folks in crypto be tribal for their bags and not want to give something like this to the world really fired me up and really got me wanting to do what I'm doing. And so now we're talking about swords being picked up, one side feeling they're doing good and the other side feeling they're doing wrong. So now, wait a minute. Is that how tribalism people feel, that they're really on the right side of things and that another person is on the wrong side of things? Because I don't think I'm tribalistic, but in a way I am, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, you're
in your opinion,
my opinion, in my professional opinion.
In your professional opinion.
Mhm.
But so now that so you're a professional studying this, Miss getting her PhD or whatever. Now I'm a real tribalist, come from a family and a tradition and a history of real tribalism, meaning I'm Native American. I'm half Native American. So I understand tribalism in that sense. Pride, language, our faith, all of those things, our tribe protects all those things, because that's how our government systems are set up. So I come from that, and I come from a position of, standing on the wall for my country and all of you, you included, for your freedom of speech, for you to go out and say and do whatever it is you want, for you to go out and not burn a flag or burn a flag. That's who I stood for, was for all of the people of this country.
That's what I would say is, like, a lot of people get mad because when I say things like, I don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and you never do, because you're like, hey, that's your thing,
No, I fought and stood on the wall so that you could have the right to do so. Now, what do I do when the Pledge of Allegiance? I stand at attention every time it plays at my house for a UFC fight or whatever it is, a baseball game, a football game. I stand. Now, all of my flag waving friends usually are sitting on the couch drinking a beer or whatever, and they don't care. But I don't care either. That's their right, and it's your right too. And that's why I stood on the wall, so that you can have the right to either honor it or not honor it or do whatever. It's what I do that matters. It's not what you do that matters.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, so I have that belief. I have the belief of a real freedom fighter, I guess you'd call it, or protector of this nation and the people's rights and whatnot. What do you think about that? Somebody with my wisdom, integrity, and knowledge of tribalism and understanding of it, because you explain it well, and I understand it in that way too. But I think that I'm right in my conviction of these people that I'm watching out here in the crypto space who are shilling rug pulls, creating drama to get attention, to get more clicks, likes, so that they can go shill another garbage, product out to the world. They continue to
like what Hexican American just said.
What's that? And their girl, you're not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I just lost any respect I ever had for you. You're exactly what I thought you were.
Okay.
Right on, Hexican American. That's your right to feel that way about her. It is. And but it doesn't make your opinion any more valid or less valid to either one of us. You know, I think differently of her because I know her. I know her qualities. I know who she is, and that thing that she does for the flag, it doesn't bother me any. That's her right. That's her opinion. The Pledge of Allegiance isn't some religion or something that we hold guns to people's heads to go do. That's other countries. That's not what this country is about.
Also, that I think that
and it's okay for you not to have any respect for her in that sense, but you don't really know her then, because I know her, and there's so many more qualities to this person than that stigma that she has for the allegiance. And if you really understood her.
It's hard for me to not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance or the anthem, because like my birthday is July 4th. My name is Nicole because it means liberty of the people, and I was born on July 4th. So like, it's not something that I do like really lightheartedly. It's not something that I haven't like given a great deal of thought to. It's that like, I've thought about it so much. I've lived in parts of the world that the United States was actively attacking while they were actively attacking it. And that is why I don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, is because I don't think that the country that we are today is the country that, you know, our pledge and our anthem was written about. And that's why I don't. It's not
and
like,
see it's and that's a beautiful thought, and that's a thought that has merit. You're 100% correct. The most decorated, most beloved member of the Corps, of the Marine Corps, was Smedley Butler. We loved him. He's on in every history book. Every Marine learns about Smedley Butler. Smedley Butler, when he got out of the Marine Corps, wrote a book called War is a Racket. He became a pacifist after the wars, the most highly decorated Marine like of the time ever. And he turned into a pacifist because he saw behind the scenes what the politicians were doing to get men killed, the men that he had to take into battle. And it destroyed him, and it crushed him. And people don't know that about a lot of these heroes, war heroes that have gone through this stuff, you know. And for me, you know, when I see the flag, it represents the dirt that this country sits on, and all of the tribes that have been here from time immemorial, from the beginning of time, the tribes that have supposed to have been the caretakers of this place. So when I see the flag, that's what I see. And when I stand, that's what I'm standing for. I'm standing for all the people that are here today and all the people that have been gone on before us. And that matters to me. And that's why I stand. Now, if you were standing because you want to destroy that, then I'd have a problem with it. But that's not why you're not standing.
no,
You're not standing because you don't like the oppression that has been forced. And that's okay. And that's what I think people need to understand, where other people come from before they start judging them and before they start trying to push them down. You know, it's like, hey, that's okay. You do you, I'm going to do me. And the better I can be, and the more I can teach people about making things better and putting more love in the world and putting more help in the world and putting more faith in the world and putting more hope and joy and all those things in the world. That's what I want to do. That's who I want people to see me as, you know, and whether or not I stand or kneel or sit for the anthem does not matter. It does not matter, because it's all that matters is why I'm doing it, you know. And other people need to quit judging others and try to learn who they are and what they're about before they start doing that.
But hey, by all means, if you want to think that I'm a trash person, feel free. I really don't care what you think. So and you know what, I would say the same thing. But there's something in me that when somebody comes at me sideways or says something ill about me, I'm like, gosh, do you really know me? And maybe we could have really been friends and done good things together and done good things for the world together and been more powerful together, versus letting some little small thing. Because when I sit down with another human being, usually we agree on about 90% of things. We sit down and we agree on so much, and we can do so much good together. But there's like 10% of bullshit in all of us that we don't agree on. Mhm.
And it's always going to be the case with like any human being. There's always going to be a little bit. I mean, you want to find that out? Go get married to somebody who you really, 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 really like and fall in love with. You're going to realize that after a while, in a marriage, there's probably about 30% of the stuff you guys really don't agree upon. And that's what's going to happen because you're so close and you understand each other so well and whatnot. But usually human beings really agree upon most things. And there's just a small percentage of things that they don't agree on. And what they should do is say, well, let's just agree not to agree on those and let those things be bygones and go and work on the things that we can do together that are going to make the world a better place.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
I agree.
And that's one of the reasons why I've embraced you in this community, because I know that that's your take also, that you
Well,
don't really care, that you're really trying to make things better.
and I mean, in terms of what you asked me about like standing on the side of right and wrong, like I can say that I always like, I mean, a really big part, like what I really loved about the Hex community and what made me feel comfortable, like, you know, because I've done like various studies in all these other crypto communities and never really identified as like one of, you know, one of anyone, you know, like I'm kind of like, I'm a journalist, you know, I'm Switzerland, you know? But then with Hex, don't agree
There
with
is a caveat here. I just want to give a disclaimer to all married men out there. Yeah, just don't disagree with your mother-in-law. That is a mistake. Absolutely, 100%. Don't do it. Don't do it. To be honest, I don't have too many disagreements with my mother-in-law. Me and my mother-in-law get along fine. She says I'm her favorite son-in-law.
Oh.
And that's because all of the other sisters are divorced. I'm the only son-in-law.
Nice.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I mean, like, in terms of standing on the side of like right and wrong, the thing that I liked, because I never identified as like a, you know, Bitcoin or Ethereum, you know, like I was just kind of like, I'm here, I'm a crypto person, right? But what like I liked so much about Hexicans was that it was self-paid, right? So it wasn't like no one was getting paid, because obviously if you're pumping your own bags and your bags are pumping, you're paying yourself. But it was like nobody paid you to say the things that you said about Hex. There wasn't a bunch of sponsored content. It was like, it was real. It was real people who believed in the code and believed in its founder. And that, I thought that was real similar to like a bit, you know, early Bitcoin vibes. And you know, the way that Hexicans wanted to hold accountable those who were shilling pump and dumps every other week. You know, I really like that, because I wanted, even before I knew anything about Hex, I wanted to do like I wanted to hold the media outlets accountable for what they were doing. And what influencers do is that really on a larger scale, because influencers are actually more influential, more important than any traditional media outlet today.
I like what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you know, because we were an organically grown community, that's what made our voice so strong, and that's what made our opinion so strong. And because we were doing things like calling out other crypto scams or people that were promoting these scams openly, you know, and that's the thing I think that got us in more trouble than anything. Is that we were calling out the big major names that would promote a scam, the rug pull would happen, and then they'd brush it under the rug and talk about something else the next week like that thing never happened.
Right.
And we were calling them out and they didn't like it at all. And it was getting us even more heat. And it didn't help that the top Bitcoiners were after us and trying to shut us down and trying to keep us quiet, you know. And they sent their attack dogs out, and they all got destroyed. You know, when they sent out Peter McCormick and the rest of them to talk crap, you know, then they all ran back with their tails between their legs. They knew that they had something they had trouble on their hands, and so I know they tried to ghost us, but they couldn't help themselves.
They couldn't help
in
themselves.
early
Just
days.
that's why I keep telling people. And people now are like getting mad at me for saying don't interact with content that you don't like. And I'm just telling you, like, if the Bitcoiners had actually like ghosted Hex, it never would have become what it became. So just keep that in mind when you're paying attention to stuff that you don't like and interacting with, stuff that you don't like.
And that's part of the spoils of war. I mean, gosh, when I think about Smedley's book, I hate saying even things like this, but the spoils of war and the good that come out of winning, for instance, World War II, when we stopped a tyrannical leader from invading the world, there was a lot of sacrifice that was made for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the Hexicans went through, was all of the, the death threats, the FUD, the pain that we all went through, was to win that battle. And like you said, it gave us more recognition than we should have got. Had we got no recognition, had they just ghosted us completely, you're right. We wouldn't have got the notoriety. We wouldn't have had the pump. We probably wouldn't have hit the 10,000x gains that we got. It wouldn't have been as people wouldn't have saw who we were and who this crazy community was that was out there promoting this thing and how convicted we were to it. They would have never saw all that. So
like
yeah,
when
I think
I post like stop interacting with content that you don't like, all I'm trying to remind people of is like, we lived through it, like, so why are we doing this again? Like and specifically on X, right? On X.com now, Twitter, right? People are interacting with content and like that's giving the person who created that content views, that's giving them ad revenue. So unless you're like, oh yeah, I want to give this person money, maybe interact with content of people who you'd actually like to see get, increase their influence and, net worth and whatever.
So since you're really an insider into that kind of world, the influencer world, what do you think is going on over there? Do you think that, I mean, what the game was, you know that they're all paid influencers and that they've all been under contracts and all these things. Do you see this continuing forward? Do you see it changing? Do you see a crack in the armor or a crack in the dam here, something happening to it? Or is it changing to you, or is it the same?
There's definitely a crack in the dam. That's for sure. Okay. Because people are getting charged now. Like the SEC is coming after individual influencers. There are charges against many, many people who nobody even knows it. Like, I know about this because I work with them. But there are charges against people that are not public, that people do not know about. Various agencies are coming after people. So there's that crack. And then there's also that people have seen that organic grassroots ends up having a better result. The problem is that there are so many crypto things out there that really are not real. And if they're not real, then an organic grassroots community is not going to last very long. They're not going to stay behind it for very long. Yeah. So the problem is that those people still need, those projects still need, trustworthy, reliable faces to promote their tokens or their projects or whatever, so that they can execute their plans, or who knows, maybe they're trying to build something. A lot of them really are trying to build something, but don't know what they're doing. And so there's I don't think that the market for influencers is going away, but it definitely is changing.
Yeah. And that's what makes, the Hexicans different. I know for a fact that, Crypto Coffee and DCC and Kinetics and myself and Hexo, we don't get paid a dime to speak the way we do about Hex and Richard's ecosystem, and Richard himself. Richard is never, he doesn't even say thank you. He says, I love Hexicans. He doesn't say, our influencers are just the best, and to not to our detriment, but to the betterment of our streaming community, because he doesn't get involved and he doesn't interfere, and he hasn't promoted us, and it's completely organic. Like, this is a true grassroots organic community. And the other beautiful thing about that is that and you just mentioned it, it has a crypto, it has a project, a product that is behind it and has not failed it. I think, in my opinion, there were some strong communities out there. I think the Bitcoin community had strong, good people in it. I think that XRP community had good, strong people. I think the Ethereum community had good, strong people in it. But unfortunately, those cryptos, those products, projects have either failed them or have promised them too much and not delivered. And those communities haven't been able to stand in front of those with confidence and conviction like this community has. I mean, for somebody like me who, forgets like 3/4 of the stuff that he learns and didn't understand any of this when he first got here in 2014, too old for it, whatever, to be in the position I'm in, to be out in front of like what I feel is the #1 crypto on the planet, and still going strong after, close to 4 years, and not having to take anything back, not having to roll one stream back, not having to say I'm sorry for anything, is a testament to what Hex is. Not me, but to what Hex is. That's how I feel. Hey, thank you, CZ, for the $49.99. Hey, everybody. So let me make mention of this. So the Pulse Chain tour that's going on, I just mentioned we were in Atlanta, had a great event, just built bridges and grew the community, and just came up with some new allies. I mean, what an awesome thing, the Atlanta Blockchain Center. If you're in Atlanta, guys, you got to go over there and meet Marlon at the Atlanta Blockchain Center. The guy is just freaking fantabulous, badass dude. But while we're touring, our next tour is going to be in Miami, but very soon we're going to be doing 2 stops in Texas, and that's going to be some big ones. So Texas, we're going to be going to the Dallas area to have a meetup and party. And if anybody knows CZ Hexing and how she throws parties, she throws them down. And we're going to be having a Hexican meetup and party and meet and greet and all that in Dallas with her. And then after that, a couple weeks after, I think it's 2 weeks after, we'll be, or maybe a week after, we're going to be in Austin for one of our last big stops. And that's going to be a double throwdown trick of the week event. So get out there, get your tickets for Dallas. Go to pulsechain.com, pulsechaintour.com. Get your tickets, get everything set up, and you don't want to miss this meetup. If you're anywhere near the Dallas area or can get to Dallas, what's the date, CZ? Throw the date out there real quick. There she is. Maybe she'll throw the date out. But Dallas is going to be the party to be at this year, guys. If you're a Hexican, get your butt to that party. Thanks, CZ. Well, I'll throw the date up there in a second. So yes, so we've been amazingly successful at our meetups and our Pulse Chain tour, because one thing about building bridges that I found is that something different happens when people meet in person. I mean, you and I always had a great relationship online, but as soon as we met in person, it changed the whole dynamic. And
that was not at Burning Man. That was several years ago at the first Hex conference, right?
At the first Hex conference, yes. Now, Burning Man was a completely different experience, and we should spend a few minutes talking about Burning Man, because that was much, much fun. And I know it's not part of the whole crypto thing, but it kind of is, because Burning Man is about community, and it's about community coming together, and yeah, it's
building it yourselves. If you want to be a part of Black Rock City, you have to contribute to the, building of the city, the building and destruction.
Yeah, the building and the tear down and the participating and the whole thing. And I didn't realize it. I thought, my first thoughts about Burning Man is it's just a big hippie party where a bunch of half naked, stinky hippies are running around having fun and kissing each other on the cheeks and all that stuff. It's half that. But then on the other side, there's this really cool, like, global community come together. And, I've never experienced so much cooperation and love and just good kind-heartedness and willingness to participate and help, willingness to participate and help in, making the place better. Whether it's picking up trash or making sure that somebody got somewhere safe, or that, people were being fed, or people were having a good time, or, all of the things that were going on there, and just the care everybody was taking for one another. On top of all the amazing art and all of the different things that you can, be a part of. I mean, it was just, what an experience. I mean, and then on top of it, this one, we had a little incident where it rained. It rained in 24 hours. It rained like 3 months of rain in like 24 hours. And it just poured on us and turned our outside dust playa into like 8 inches of quicksand, mud, clay, Play-Doh that you couldn't get off of anything. And it just destroyed the whole place. You couldn't even walk to the bathrooms. I mean, it was disgusting. And you were out hanging out with all of us at Camp Mystic. We were at Camp Mystic to dox our camp. And you were out hanging out with us for the evening, and then the rain.
Pretty much all, like, it was like the first half of the week was over. I had been with you guys like the whole time, more or less.
Yeah.
Like,
you kind of abandoned your camp and came and hang with the cool kids camp.
Well, I just like, it was like, I don't know, it was like you guys were there, and then like, what's his Cosmic
Kool-Aid, Cosmic Cowboy.
There was like all of our friends were there. Like, how can
April
I, like,
and Mark? Yeah, oh gosh, what's Hexican's name? I'm forgetting his name.
Buddha?
Hexpic. No, not Buddha. Your friend Hexpic. No, man.
Hang on,
I'm gonna get murdered. Him and his wife.
Yeah, no, I know. His wife's name is Jamie.
I do. Oh, okay. I wasn't going to say their names. I was just trying to think of their.
I thought it was allowed.
I don't know.
Okay. X-ray vision.
And one thing, X-ray vision. Yes. One quick thing. Whenever the Queen shows up, I must announce, ladies and gentlemen, the Queen of Hex, the first Hex streamer, Serena Alonzi, has joined us in the chat room. Welcome, Serena. We love you.
Serena.
So good to have her. So X-ray vision was there, and everybody was having a great time, and you got stuck and had to refugee with us, and we took in another refugee, Buddha, your friend Buddha, who's from Israel of all things. His name is Buddha. He's from Israel, and that's the kind of stuff you run into out in Burning Man. But yeah, and we actually took another refugee in that was having a hard time and needed some help. And then, it was devastation. There were tents that were flooded, and mud had poured into the tents, and all the people's things and items were washed away or covered up. And a lot of the camps were under mud. We were literally sitting in a seminar, Nerd Girl and myself, and the rain was coming down so hard while we were sitting in the seminar that
everyone
our asses started moving towards the center, because we were all getting wet, and the carpet that was under us was getting soaked. And by the time we got out of there, it was just sloshing, mud-filled mess, which was once like a beautiful, like sheepskin white carpet, was just mud and destroyed. It was just, it was insane. But it was really something. It was something completely different than I had expected. And that was without the natural disaster, just the experience itself. So I would suggest it for anybody. If it still happens, if Burning Man still continues to get to operate and function there, I'm sure it will in some capacity or whatever. I would suggest people to experience it, because it was quite the experience.
It's amazing. I mean, and it's different every time. So like, you kind of go there with, especially your first time, right? You have no idea what to expect. Maybe you have like certain idea what you're going to get. And it's like, oh, it's something so different from what I thought. And then like the next time that you go, it will be something that was so different from the last, your first burn, and then your third burn, which this was my third burn. I was like, this was a completely different experience from any of my other years.
Yeah. And and one of the things that I wanted to tell people, and I don't know if people really talk about this much or whatever, but Burning Man has a tradition of burning the man, and I think in my opinion it's an effigy of what we all consider the man, like let's burn this thing down, this thing that's standing over us, that's so big and so like you're so when you see it, it's like you're awestruck by seeing this effigy of this man up there and all of the things it does and the electronics and the fireworks and everything, but you burn it down to the ground, and it's just kind of proof that no matter how big and powerful and beautiful this thing is to us, that we can still bring it down, and I think that's a beautiful metaphor. And then straight across from it though is something else, and it's called the temple. And the temple is, I didn't know what the temple was. I thought, okay, maybe it's a place where people do a little praying, a little, hoodoo, voodoo, hooky dooky stuff, whatever. And that's what I thought. So I drove out there, and for me, it was I'm not going to get deep into it, but it was a very surreal experience, because it was what the temple was full of was people's woes and people's sorrows and people's losses. And not just those things, but people went in there and put inspirational things in there also. But mostly there were a lot of people weeping in the corners that had lost family members or friends or close relatives or whatever, and it was just an emotional overwhelm when you go into that place, because there's just pictures and effigies and altars and things that people have laid out for their loved ones, and it's an overwhelming feeling when you go in there. And then that's where people had gone to kind of drop their baggage, to take the burdens off of their shoulders.
Mhm.
And I went to Burning Man with a bunch of that stuff, and I had some experiences where I feel a little lighter now, and it was good, and it was a healing experience, and that temple was, and of course at the end of the Burning Man ceremony, and the day after they burn the man, they burn the temple down too, and so all of that stuff gets burned up in kind of another representation of burning people's hurts, angers, fears, doubts, pain, all that stuff. And really cool, really cool experience being there and being part of it, and contributing and working. And I mean, me and Nicole, we were out there sweating and working at when they were taking the theater down and everything, and there was work to be done. It's not just all fun and games and partying and dancing.
No,
and there's like half the time you're having fun, half the time you're working, and the other half you're trying to survive.
Okay, so there's
in between it all, you're trying to survive.
There's a country song called Burning Man, and the guy who sings
I heard it.
It's really good. It's really good. And he says, like, half your life you struggle, half your life you fly. One half making trouble, the other half making it right.
Oh, and that's the Burning Man song?
The song is called Burning Man, and
Okay, yeah. So that, I mean, 100%. That's what I'm saying is, half the time you're happy, half the time you're working, the other half, the in between it all, you're trying to survive out there. Because one of the really cool things that I recognized about the place right away, like the first day I was there, was that, okay, all this cool Burning Man fashion with the goggles and the lights on your bikes and the bikes and all of the things, and the whole city being lit up in neon. And the syrup wraps around your face and all of those things, even though it's real fashionable and everybody's half naked or naked, by the way. Yep. There's a lot of people either half naked or all naked. All of those things, even though it's like fashion and looks weird and looks funny or kind of artsy, it's survival. Like it's literal survival. Like you wear too much clothes, you're going to die.
Yep.
You don't have enough to cover your face, to keep the dust off, to keep the stuff out of your eyes, and a bike, you're going to die. If you don't have a backpack with a water bolo on it, with your Camelback, you're going to die. Like you've got to have all those things on you to survive the fun that you're going to go have for the day, and it was just incredible. And seeing all that and seeing the pictures and the people that do all the fashion. It's like they've taken the survival to the next level and made it even more artsy.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that they say is like when you're in Black Rock City, you're part of the city. So like your art, you know?
You are. And I am actually a Burning Man artist. If you didn't know that. Did you know that I'm actually a Burning Man artist?
No, I didn't know.
I'm like an official artist. Well, Cosmic had had his first art project, and he's been going there for 25 years or whatever it is. And he made his first art project, and he asked me if I'd be if I'd have the honor to go with him and what do they call it? Not consummate, but consecrate his artwork out on the playa, because it was actually a registered piece of art out on the playa. So I went out with him, and I found the spot for him. He needed a Marine to help him find the spot because he couldn't find the spot a couple of days before. So we found the spot, and I nailed it down, and we pinned it up. We took pictures with it, and a couple more people showed up, and we signed his book and everything. And I am now an official Burning Man artist.
Awesome.
Yes, I was proud of that.
So,
Got pictures in
American again, everyone is at least half naked because it's like 120 degrees outside, so it's necessary.
Yeah, exactly. It's 120 out there. Like people are half naked. It is survival. Oh, one thing I wanted to put up. So Hexican American, who I love, has been in our chat room for a long time. He's one of the good ones. Says, sorry for hurting your feelings, nerd girl. Just struck a nerve, and Illy and Little, and I respect you and all that you do for the space.
Thanks.
So
you didn't hurt my feelings.
He didn't hurt her feelings, and glad you feel that way about it, because that's really who she is. She's respectable in the space.
But so okay, so
wait, one more. I want to tell one more story before we have to go, because we're like right at an hour.
Wait, but I have to tell a story too. So
okay, would you tell the story about there was one saying out there that the playa will provide. The playa will provide. Remember the night that we lost Cosmic Sun in the middle of 80,000 people? Would you tell that story real quick about your
sure. Okay, so we were out one night. It was like me, Captain, and Kool-Aid, and Will, which is Cosmic, the camp leader's son. And Will had just gotten there. So we were like, he wanted to go see this. And then there were some other people who were with us, but like they kind of got lost on their own. That's what happens at Burning Man. We really didn't want to lose Will because he was like, we were sort of charged with him, you know? So anyway, so Will's like, I got to go to the bathroom. Are you guys going to stay here? So we stayed there for a really long time, and he never came back. We're like, where's Will? Like, where is he? So we wait for like way too long, and then we're like, okay, he's never making it back. He can't find his way back. So what are we going to do? We're like, okay, let's roll the destiny dice. So I have these dice that someone from my camp gave to me. They're like 2 polyhedron dice, like 2 12-sided dice. And one of them has letters and one of them has numbers, which are like representative of the times. Because at Burning Man, everything is like a clock. So anyway, so we roll the dice and we go someplace. We're like, oh, nothing's going on here. Let's go somewhere else. We roll the dice. We go somewhere else. And we are there, about to leave there. It's like an hour later when Will comes rolling up. And we're like, the playa provides. And there's no reason that he should have come right there. It's just
80,000 people, and like nothing but it's like finding somebody in a stadium somewhere that you lost, on a different floor, separate aisle, I mean, and to walk right up where you're getting a hot dog at. It was like, wow, those dice got us back to Will. And then we hung out for the rest of the evening. It was very cool. I thought that was an interesting evening.
Well, and then we did the next day, remember, or maybe it wasn't the next day, but one of the days we were like, our mission for the day was to get playa food. Like we just wanted to go. And so we were like, okay, let's just roll the destiny dice. And the whole thing about the destiny dice is it's about the journey, not the destination. So if you see something that's on the way, you stop, So we're like, that's what we did all day. We rolled the destiny dice and we like collected playa food and experiences. Yeah. And it was like,
we ate hot dogs. We ate grilled cheese sandwiches. We had quesadillas. We went and stopped at bars, crepes. Everybody had free drinks. I mean, because
popsicles.
and popsicles. We were hot, and we were like, gosh, it would be so nice to have something cool. And we got popsicles, and it's like, wow. And then, and every bar we stopped at, the bars are free. Like they open, like these
Everything
camps
is
just
free.
open their
Everything is
bars.
free. It's a gift
You can't-
economy.
Yeah, you can't pay for anything. And you go sit down, and they were handing me, soda waters and ginger ales, and everybody was getting beers and drinks, and there's bar food and pretzels, and then we'd go to the next one and get a grilled cheese sandwich, and it was just one place after another. There was even a pirate camp that we stayed in, and everybody got their nails painted.
Yeah, the nails. It's gone. It just looked like it was still
got nails painted and hung out and got stuff out of the treasure chest. I got a new bracelet out of the treasure. It just very, very cool experience. But what a good time it was. It was a really good time. I will definitely be going again and having a good time at Burning Man and doing some more, mental and emotional work there. And just, I thought it was great. And really just to answer the dice, what she was trying to explain was the two dice, one represented, so Burning Man is set up like a clock, and it goes from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And so there's 10, 15, 10:30, all the way to 2 o'clock. And then to cut in between all of those times on the clock, there are streets A through F, right? And all the streets are named. Oh, A through G. I'm sorry. So A through G. So one dice had A through G on it, and the other dice had the times on it. So it was you just rolled the dice and you went to G at 2 o'clock. And sometimes it would take us all the way across. And this thing is the one thing that's really surprised me about Burning Man was how absolutely humongous it is. I mean, we got up on a platform at night one time, and it's bigger than a lot of cities that I've been to. I mean, just monstrous. It stretches. It looks like it stretches for miles and miles. It's just the biggest, craziest experience. Anyway, what a good time it was. I'm so glad I got to spend it there with you. And I'm so glad that I'm spending this crypto journey with you also. To my good friend, Nicole, you are awesome. And I hope you continue doing your work and you continue being a Hexican and continue burning, because
can I share our article by reading the first paragraph to get people hooked so they want to read it?
Oh, wait a minute. You've already started writing?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just say, just read a couple sentences. Don't read a whole paragraph. Anyway, so Nerd Girl came to me and asked me if I would help her write an article, because we had a conversation while we were at Burning Man about kind of the plight of the Native American and tribalism and what it has done and created, and governments stepping in and whatnot. So she asked me some questions about it. We were talking with her Israeli friend about it. And she was like, wow, I'd really like to write a story about this. So her and I have been sitting down, putting together a story about, I guess, my worldview on Native American tribalism and its plights with the United States government today. And so we started putting together an article. So I guess she's going to share a little bit of what
I just want to share the hook.
Okay, share the hook.
All right. It's day 5 of Burning Man, and I'm trapped in an RV with RG3, Crypto Kool-Aid, and our friends. It's a torrential downpour outside, and we aren't going anywhere anytime soon. We inventory food, medicine, and water to figure out rations, since we don't know how long this storm will last. Luckily, we discover that we have more than enough of everything, so we settle in, and our bonding experience grows deeper. Let me rewind for a second. That's it.
That's it. Okay. So that's the hook. It was a rainy night, us sitting in an RV talking about just anything. And it came up about Native Americans and tribals. I don't know what brought the conversation up, but that's how we started talking.
It was just like, I don't know, we were listening to music. We were all just like, we couldn't go anywhere. We were stuck. So we were just sitting there talking to each other. And that's the conversation where it came.
Yep. And can't wait to hear the article. It's going to be great. All right, my friend, Nerd Girl, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you so much. Glad you're part of our community. Glad you're going to stick around. And is there anything that you'd like to, other than your new article coming out, anything else you want to talk about, say anything about before I
If you're not too easily annoyed or I don't know, perturbed. What's it? Triggered. If you're not easily triggered, I write stuff on Twitter like all the time. But if you are, don't follow me.
Yeah, go
Because
follow her on Twitter.
because I say stuff that will offend you.
And
So
and I think that people, it's an exercise in self-awareness and self-control and understanding to listen to people that have powerful opposing views of yourself, because it'll help you to get to know yourself even better than worrying about somebody else, to be honest. So check her out. She's on Twitter, and it's NerdGirl007 on Twitter, and you can follow her there. I follow her. Click it, check it out, and then unfollow her and block her if you don't like her.
yeah. It's
So
that
don't
easy.
hurt her feelings,
It's that easy. Yeah, it's fine. I don't
but
care.
don't fuck with her in this community, because I'll come after you. That's for damn sure. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thanks, Nerd Girl. Love you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one. We'll see you the next
Bye.
time, everybody. Wednesday, I'm probably going to be on Famous. And then don't forget to Friday Night Hangout. See ya.